about the thoughts that you had first with your mother.
Oh, my life with my mother is...
The image that came to mind when you photographed.
Well, it's still... I'm less angry, but I'm trying to be more compassionate. But still, it's a matter that probably will never be resolved, because I have a deep feeling that, to begin with, I was an unwanted child, and she feels that I've screwed her life by being born. And later it was projected on, of course, other members of the family, and also it goes on with my children, that we are all satanic creatures for her. So, and it doesn't matter if they are gorgeous and they can give to every normal grandparent and naches, doesn't matter. But I think she has some mental problems on top of it, and I think that I started to understand it later in my life, that it's not only an evil force, but it's also a mental problem.
How old was she when you were born?
She was in her very early 20s, I think 21.
Does she have a profession?
She did have a profession. She, as a matter of fact, after she divorced my father, she went to a teacher's seminary, and she became a kindergarten teacher. And I think this was the best period of her life. Then she was flourishing and blooming, I think. And this is the period I really liked her, because she was doing something else and she was less concerned with her own self. But then she left it when she married her husband, second husband. She claimed that he didn't want her to work. But then I think this was the beginning of her decline. So I don't want to tell you the whole story because...
Oh, okay. So what was happening when you photographed yourself thinking of your father?
Well, my father is, again, a very interesting character, a very self-centered, both of them are very self-centered, but on the other hand, is a humanist and a very enlightened person. So has this very funny combination of Napoleonic traits on one hand and a very open-minded person on the other hand, very provincial and very open-minded at the same time, with a great sense of humor.
In his profession?
He is, how shall I say, a frustrated writer, and he had to do something else for living because he had so many children to support and families, and so he was entangled in his biography. He wanted to be first a professional revolutionary in his time.
Was he born in Europe?
Yeah, he came from Russia with his parents to Palestine.
Mm-hmm. You were born in Israel?
Yeah. But he is in his way, very disturbing but very inspiring. Mm-hmm. Not all of us. So, but whatever, the sense of humor really somehow redeems everything in him.
So what did he do to make a living?
Well, I wrote about it here a little. My grandfather was one of the establishers of a kind of a transportation cooperative in Palestine in the 20s. So my father became one of the members of this cooperative. He was a truck driver, and then he worked there. And in these times, truck drivers also participated in the war efforts, in the Second World War and then in the War of Independence. So, but still he's a frustrated writer. He's a Sunday writer. Now he's retired now, so he's trying to write his big epos, and I hope he will succeed.
And how does he relate to your success in writing?
It's very interesting. On one hand, he's very proud. On the other hand, I feel that he's very
envious.
There is an envy there too, of course. Also, he had to overcome the idea that probably he is one of the protagonists of my first novel. And it took me many, many years and him to get over it. And still from time to time he refers to himself as the character there, which is not a very flattering character. But when you write, somehow you have to take into account all this. Probably when you are pushed to writing, I think that you tend to forget all these other obstacles.
Did you feel that you had to get out of Israel, to get out from underneath the sort of parental oppression in order to be yourself?
No, because since I was 16, somehow I established my own autonomy already. I left home very early. But no, I left Israel only because I've married my second husband.
I see.
So I didn't run away.
Your first son, your oldest son.
Well,
not son, I'm sorry, sister.
My first sister is also a problematic person. I haven't seen her for many, many years, and funny enough, I've seen that I have a letter from her from Canada. I didn't know if she's alive or not, and I decided not to read it before I come here because I was afraid that it will affect my moods. It's a very problematic situation.
Could I just
talk much about it because it's very, very painful, and she's like my mother.
She lives in Canada?
She lives in Canada, and she is also a very difficult case. I cannot go through it now, but and I felt that I was responsible for her all my life, so I always felt guilty, and somehow it reflected on our relationships. Also, the fact that I'm a writer also had some bad effects on her. She thought that she thinks that because of me, she cannot write.
But she wanted also to be a writer?
She never tried, but that's one of the...
it's not rational, so it's...
Yeah, but I don't want to talk too much about her. She's a problem, and she's my... If you want to say, if somebody has an albatross, she was my albatross all my life.
What was the age difference between you?
4 years.
And so you took care of you?
Yeah.
Do some mothering?
I was taking care of her, and she stayed in my home, and I used to pull her through all kinds of periods, and maybe because of this, I have all these very sharp reactions. I don't know.
And your brother?
My first brother, I love him very much. He's a director, theatrical director, and full of life and zest and humor and wit. And also used to be the director of Lakot Tzvayot, of the army troops. Unfortunately, recently he got a heart attack, and then he got a stroke, and now he is coming under it, but miraculously he comes from under it. But he's a young man, and it's very painful to go with him through all this.
And your next brother?
My next brother is a jolly fellow, looks like Balzac. Balzac loves life, eating, merrymaking, drinking, and have a good time, and he has a golden heart. Takes care. He's not my real brother, but I love him dearly.
He's a stepbrother.
He's a stepbrother, but we really love each other, and he's very...
And do your brothers live in Israel, both of them?
Yeah, both of them, and they have very good contact with each other, very good.
And your younger sister?
My younger sister is also a very marvelous creature. She's a singer, classic singer. Very, very artistic and beautiful, and also she has a beautiful inside, shall I say it.
She's Israeli?
She's in Israel too, and a beautiful girl.
Okay, now we get to your younger son. Your oldest son, your first son.
Okay, my oldest son is my pride and joy. He's an architect now. He's everything that I would like to be, and maybe I couldn't do it, because he's very, very enlightened and very artistic and very, very bright. And he's doing very well in his profession.
Where does
he's
he
a good
work?
friend. Huh?
Where is he working?
In Israel.
In Israel. Mm-hmm.
Also a very good friend of mine. Very good friend.
Is he married?
He's married and he has a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I love very much his wife.
That helps.
Huh?
That helps.
Oh, she's gorgeous. She's fantastic. My daughter again. She's a beautiful girl, inside and outside. She's she went through hell in her childhood because of my divorce, and her father remarried another woman, and she went through hell, but she came under it. She's now married. She's an industrial designer, also very successful, very bright, very talented, and she's doing very well in her own profession. So
Also lives in Israel?
also lives in Israel. Yeah.
Now, your children from the first marriage, did they stay with their father, or did they go with you, or a combination?
It was a combination, right? Sometimes they've spent here with me. When I married Jerry, they were somehow alternating. They came here, they went back, they came. So, also my second husband married a few times, so each time they had to face somebody else. So they had an interesting life, though, too. Not
You mean your first husband married
a few times
after
me.
After you, he had.
Yeah, so they had actually very similar childhood to my to my childhood. So brings us. It's very interesting, but we understand each other very well because of this. Yeah.
And then your son with Jerry?
My son with Jerry is the only normal person in the family because abnormal, because he was raised by two parents, and he's a beautiful child, a very bright and talented. Okay, all of them are nice Jewish kids, as you see. He didn't have, thank God, to go through all the obstacles of his brother and sister. But and he's also an American kid, which is creates another personality.
Does he speak Hebrew?
He speaks Hebrew too, right?
Does
But he has a
Jerry
lot.
speak Hebrew, doesn't he?
He does. Jonathan has a lot of. Some of his elements are Israeli, no doubt about it. Yes, this Israeli skepticism about him, which helps.
Would you say he was 13?
Yes, post bar mitzvah.
Post
Yeah.
Where does he go to school?
He goes to Dalton School. Yeah. He's also, they are much brighter than me, I must say. All these kids are much brighter than me.
Yeah. Okay, what did you think of when you thought of yourself past?
Myself past, I had a rotten and beautiful past, because I had a very adventurous life and very, very varied experience. I was lucky to be born in the Second World War, and I was lucky to be on the front in 48. I was lucky to be a product of so many divorces and remarriages, which is terrible to go through, but later it's kind of, you come out with a very important baggage, I didn't have one dull life in my life. I think that the most stable period I've had in my life was the period in the United States. And somehow I cannot stand it, because I feel it something, I have to shake it a little. It's...
Okay, so what about your self-present?
My self-present is looking towards the publication of the book and the other book, and I want to have more time to write. That's what I really want to do.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you started writing?
About 7.
I mean, okay, so you've been a writer all your life.
All my life. I can't remember myself not writing.
And self-future?
Self-future is writing even more. That's... If I could sit all the time and write, I would be very... No. If I could have two personalities, two bodies, and one of them put near the desk, and the other one sent to go on living, I'll be very happy to see, like, maybe one day we
There's
should find
24
it.
hours in the day. There are 24 hours in the day.
No, because I'm also very, very attracted by life, so it's a distraction.
I mean, yeah, you can do 12 hours of one, 12 hours of the other.
Right. It's.
Could you just briefly tell me something of how you see yourself as a writer? What kind of, just, I know that I'll be able to read it later, but just tell me something about your work, your relationship to your work, where you feel that you can, that you are happy with your work, where you're not happy with your work.
Well, I feel it's very interesting, but I feel as if somebody gave me a task, a responsibility to produce something great, and I'm struggling with it. I feel that I have to work towards it. But there is a very, as if it can sound pompous, but that it's kind of a mission that I have to fulfill in my writing, and I have very high demands of myself, and sometimes it's an obstacle in my writing because I'm very critical about myself. So.
But when you talk about this, your goal in writing is as a fiction writer, or would it?
A fiction writer, right? But a fiction writer, but I cannot. I think that writing is such a integral part of my life that I cannot refer to it as something separate. It's like since I started when I was 7, and this was probably the only thing I really could do, to establish myself as a person. So, or to separate myself from the surrounding. So, but also, that in our tradition, writing was kind of something very, very, it's like being a rock singer in the United States, probably. To be a writer, when I was a child, was a Jewish ideal,
It was a comment, to the Jewish mentality.
Yeah, and my grandfather was a writer, and my uncle was, one of my uncles was a Yiddish writer, so it was, living with writing was a very, very normal, everyday being, and everybody referred to it as if it was the most important thing in life, to write and to read books. This was the most important thing to do. So,
that's one Jewish tradition, the other one is to
make money.
I came from the latter, unfortunately.
No, don't forget that I came from Palestine, where all the characters around me, still not all, but most of them had these lofty ideals,
Yes, I'm in touch with that. Recently I read an early collection of short stories from Amos Oz when he talks about the older people on the kibbutz.
Sure. So
much different Israel is today in that respect.
Very different. Okay, sometimes they were hypocrites, because they brought with them also the other concepts, right? But they had to fight against it all the time. So it was an interesting generation.
Are your novels autobiographical?
Well, I think that every novel is autobiographical. Even if you write about it 3, it's autobiographical. You don't think so?
Well, no, I think that some writers are very dependent on their own experience. In other words, they're limited by what they themselves experience, while others have a genius to go beyond what their own experience.
No, it doesn't say that every iota in my book is autobiographical. In my books, for instance, I'm just taking some general experiences, and of course I project them in a different way, but I was lucky enough to experience a lot during my life. My only prayer is that I'm not going to spoil these experiences by bad writing. Because I think that some of them are very worthy of writing about. I just want, as I said, I don't want to spoil them.
Well, when your book is published, send me a copy so I can read it. And then I can ask you better questions about your work. You see, one of the problems of my conducting the interview is that I don't know your work. And one of the things that Lily Ratok was doing with the poets, whose work she was asking them questions specifically. but I'd be very happy to be able to do that. So are there any other remarks you'd like to make before we close?
No, just ask whatever is interesting to you.
No, well, I mean, as I say, I would like to
the remarks are that I find it very difficult to be a writer in the United States, because you feel it here. I feel it. I'm working against the grain of the society. It's a kind of it's not vis-a-vis the atmosphere in Israel. You know that there was kind of promoting the whole bizarre occupation, you know, of scribbling something. Here, I feel that people are looking at me saying, what is she scribbling there with these ancient hieroglyphs? You know, like it's a kind of you have to exercise a strong willpower to go on writing here in Hebrew and to go on writing, because people approach you asking you to write this thing and another thing, you know, a marketable thing, and it's the commercialism in this society is really killing.
Yes, I know. I'm very familiar with that in my own work.
Yeah.
Amos Oz said in an interview or a talk he was giving at Penn, that they asked him what he thought of American writers, and he really let American writers have it. He thought that American writers were bloodless, that they were technically they were very good writers, but what they were mainly interested in didn't go much beyond the technique, while he felt that Israeli writers were much more in Eastern European tradition of blood and guts.
I endorse it with all my heart, but I'm trying to find. I sometimes I say that they don't have testicles. You know, it's a kind of they are referring too much to their own little belly buttons, you know, and they cannot get out of their belly buttons.
Well, you know, the concept of optimal persecution, that I think thrives when there is a certain amount of persecution. That if you live in a society where everything is too soft, or if you live in a society where the persecution is too great, it has a very adverse effect on creativity. But there is such a thing as optimal. And perhaps this country doesn't have enough persecution. Maybe Israel has optimal. I mean, living in Israel is like it's living in a war zone.
Yeah, but see, some of the best literature today comes from Czechoslovakia. You see, exactly because of these reasons.
In South America.
In South America. So, yeah, I think that here there is a kind of a smugness about life, you know.
Well, there's an effetism in the visual arts, which I object to. A lot of people, my problem that I mean, it's not my interview, but a lot of problems, people find my work to be, as one dealer told me, it's too rarefied.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, you know, that was a compliment, but
you're right. You cannot put you in a certain.
My ability to sell my work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a problem, and I'm afraid that they are going to spill over to other cultures, to, you know, this commercialism, and I really don't know. I've been to Italy last summer, and all of a sudden I felt that I can't breathe again, you know, because you don't feel this commercial pressure all over you all the time.
Have you ever tried writing in English?
Only articles. No, I cannot. Hebrew is my, shall I say, it's like part of my body.
It's a very interesting thing. My wife is a Sabra, but she writes in English. She writes poetry in English. But somebody said that people write in the language that their mothers sang lullabies to them in. Mm-hmm. And, of course, my mother-in-law was brought up in the United States. She was born in Poland, but she was brought up in the United States. And all my wife's lullabies were in English.
Really?
Oh, she went to an English-speaking school in Jerusalem in the Mandate times, too. So she
Evelina de Rothschild?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Nabokov, for instance, had a British nanny. And she wrote him, so
there's some truth in that.
Sure, no doubt about it. So, no, I'm in love with Hebrew. It's not just...
I wish... I haven't... Rachel edited this program on Amos Oz that he was... What was he talking about in relationship to this? Oh, he was talking about the beauty of the Hebrew language, the structure, how there's no other, it's how, each language has certain attributes, but there's attributes in Hebrew which I hadn't heard this before. Because I always find I always think that Hebrew must be a limited language because the vocabulary is limited. But he was talking about something else in the structure, which is not in English, which is very...
Yeah, first of all, Hebrew is a much older language, so it's with the generations, it became so concise. Unfortunately, we are just now losing all this crystallization of the language. It was crystallized to such diamond structures, the language. Now we are losing it because of the American influence. I'm not joking.
There's a lot of new Anglican words in Hebrew.
Also, the syntax is getting loosened. In Hebrew, you can say in one verb, you can say I went, right? Halachti, right? And that's enough. Or ani elech, I shall go, right? But now in modern Hebrew, they're trying to imitate the English, so they say ani halachti. It's redundant. You don't have to do it. Okay? Or ani halachti. It's redundant because only ani halachti. You cannot say ata halachti.
It is redundant.
Right? Or ani elech. You don't have to say it, right? Or for instance, right?
Yeah, okay.
But I can give you more poetic examples. like
these I understand.
Yeah. Which it's a beautiful language, and you can see that the writers were sitting there and shaping every word, putting them in the sentence that they will rhyme beautifully and will sit beautifully in the sentence. And that's why it's so painful to see your work translated, because sometimes all your labor is going to put, because all these chimes and rhymes and all these musical aspect of the language is lost completely.
Oh, well, this is interesting. How did you collaborate with your translator on the novel that's going to be done with a Jewish publication?
Well, he's an English translator. He lives in England. He's not Jewish even. And he sent me some... it was the 8th attempt to translate the book, and all of them bombed before. So he was the only one that I found that he has a kind of an equivalent of a poetic language, So
Does he know Hebrew?
He learned Hebrew as a classic language.
So what is he working from your text or from a transliteration?
He's working from my text. He reads Hebrew. But he has also a very good ear for the language and
he's not depending on a literal translation.
He is. I came to England later and we worked together. We were working quite extensively together, but basically he did a very good job. It's not the same book, though. It's not the same book, but it's exactly like the King James Bible is not the Hebrew Bible. They're two different books. Okay, forgive me for the comparison.
And the Jerusalem Bible is not the King James. There are modern translations of the Bible that are so much more relevant, I think.
They're more relevant and more clearer, but they're not as beautiful as the original.
I would disagree with that, but that's my own bias. So, the whole thing of translation fascinates me because a lot of, supposedly, the best translators from Hebrew to English don't know Hebrew or know very little Hebrew.
That's the case with my writer, with my translator. He cannot converse with me in Hebrew.
No, but he knows the language, as you say, classically. I mean, he knows the language. He can read it. I'm talking about people who can't read or write it. I mean, read or speak it. Who translate,
So how did they do it?
The poet sends them a literal translation and they work from there. For instance, Grace Schulman. Do you know Grace Schulman?
Sure. She translated Kami.
Yeah, she doesn't know. What does she know? She doesn't know Hebrew. Her Hebrew is like my Hebrew.
But Kami is an American, basically, so he could translate himself back to the English in a way.
I mean, Robert Friend doesn't know Hebrew that well.
Yeah, but still you must have. I know sometimes maybe it's an asset. I don't know.
What's the name of this English poet who was married to Sylvia Plath?
Ted Hughes.
Yeah, he's translates Hebrew stuff into English.
Yeah.
He doesn't know any Hebrew at all.
I know. Yeah, poetry is easier, I think. It's sometimes there were such funny translations. I was laughing my head off because he was using a dictionary, and he found some, and he threw it completely to another aspect. It was.
So you worked with him, so that you.
Oh yeah.
Stuff out.
Sure, no doubt. It was kind of tough work, but I think he did a good job. It's.
Okay.
Ask whatever you want to ask.
I've got it all. I mean, I'm going to have to come. I might have to come back to you. I'm just hoping that this project doesn't get short-circuited by the fact that Israel is so broke. Because one of the reasons that the exhibit isn't happening in May is because all we wanted, I think we needed $10,000.
That's it? You cannot get it from the brothers Nakash?
No,
the Jordash?
We were supposed to get it from Ted Pollack.
So get it from Jordash brothers.
Well, see, that's the part I'm not dealing with. That is done.
No, I'm just, it came... well, we're living in Lebanon now, so I hope we shall have more money.
Yeah, I hope that there'll be more peace of, there's an old saying that men have two things on their mind, peace. Peace of mind and peace of ass. That's it. And I think that's the problem in Israel. There's guys like Sharon, and they have only a piece of ass. Of course, in a political translation, a piece of ass is a piece of Lebanon, or a piece of this, or a piece of that.
Well, he's waiting there in the wings.
I'm hoping he eats himself to death before he gets a chance.
I hope so too.
Because he is so fast.
Or he will become a restaurant writer.
Or he could easily get a stroke with that kind. I mean, maybe he'll lose some weight. But when he was after the trial and he was on TV, and I noticed the cameraman was always staying here because once he got, the guy must have sat around waiting for the verdict, eating at one Chinese restaurant after another.
Yeah, and he's the one who represents the suffering Jews. The downtrodden, persecuted people. I think history has a terrible sense of humor. But I don't know, I'm afraid of him. He's waiting there. And many people support him. That's a problem. Many people think that he is the answer to our problems.
Well, if they can't see what happened, Lebanon was his baby.
Yeah, but people think that he haven't succeeded there because he was betrayed by this and betrayed by that. And for now, he could be in Damascus and arrange the whole situation, and put everybody in his right place.
The American Jews go along with him by and large.
I know, because they've never fought they don't know the reality of fighting or advancing to a place or keeping a place even. Imagine sitting in Beirut and keeping Beirut with Sahel there, or Damascus.
It wouldn't, it would have been terrible losses if they tried to. I had big fights in Israel in '82. That's the first year that I started this project. And I was, do you know Micha Baram?
Sure.
So he was telling me how great it was to be. He was going to Lebanon. He was spending a lot of, as a photographer.
Micha said that it was great.
He loved it.
He was completely drunk, because I'm sure that now he won't tell you the same. Many people were like this.
But he didn't know. I can't say this.
No. Listen, they want to have another piece of action. So, as you say, and I start to think that we are getting into the psyche of the Middle East, because all of them are intoxicated with war and with all this. The moment you taste blood, I think, you cannot retreat from it. I have the feeling, unless you experience something disastrous.
Well, I think it appeals to the juvenile part of our nature.
Yeah.
We're always saying that children are so innocent, but the reason that children are innocent is because they're weak. they're small. I mean, if they could, when they hit, or if they could, they do a lot more damage than, the reason they don't do any damage is because they're little. It does really appeal to the juvenile aspects of horror.
I don't know. I don't see any ending because I feel it also, this is also a sociology or a psychohistory issue. It has nothing to do only with the outer forces who are trying to annihilate us. It has something to do also with the psyche of the people themselves. First it was to counteract the Holocaust, and then to counteract all this feeling of inferiority of the Sephardim, right? And so on and so forth. And each time you have another force to direct it.
Now you have this religious
fanatics. And
rationale for occupying.
I don't know. I don't know. It's people probably they get a certain high from it. I cannot explain it because when I was in Israel, when the war broke, and I was looking around, I thought that and I've seen the beginning of it here on TV, and I was devastated by it. And then I came to Israel. I see that people that I know for years, they got drunk by the war. They were feeling that they are going to. It's the Messianic era. And I thought that I'm in a kind of a loony bin. A year later, when I came, all of them became sobered up, and I didn't even want to tell them what they told me a year ago, I didn't even want to repeat
it. I had
it.
exactly the same experience. I was in Israel in June of that year.
Yeah.
And especially this one friend of mine. Well, the following year when I got there, his son was there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's it.
That sobered him up fast.
No doubt. Yeah. It was, luckily enough, I have enough friends who think the opposite way, but they are a very small minority there. Now everybody wants out because the young children are killed there, But there was a kind of attempt to start to move towards peace. Nobody even gives a hoot about it, It's just, where is it?
Well, I'm hoping that now that
the Russian and the Americans should do something.
That would be one way of solving it. They say that some people say the only way there's going to be peace on Earth is when we're threatened from somebody from outer space, then we'll all become...
But then they will fix it for us for good. Because we're so stupid, basically.
Okay,
so we were solving now the world's problem.
I'm going to turn this off.